Knowledge is power. Book rest.
What if motivation is the lie? Friends, what if I told you that the biggest thing holding you back isn't a lack of motivation, but the wrong mindset? Have you ever noticed something? On the days you feel motivated, you talk about conquering the world. You make bold plans, big promises. And on the days you don't feel like it, you postpone the same goal until tomorrow. Here's the uncomfortable truth. If your success depends on motivation, your future will always be uncertain, because motivation is a feeling, and feelings change. Discipline is a decision, and decisions shape identity. In this video, we're going to talk about how to wake up daily, work, stay focused, and move toward your goals without waiting to feel motivated. You'll understand why your brain craves comfort, how dopamine keeps distracting you, why willpower eventually fails, and how systems can save you. If you truly want control over your life, if you're tired of excuses and ready for results, then today we stop waiting for motivation and start building discipline as our identity. Chapter 1: The Discipline Lie: Why Motivation is a Trap. Have you ever made a plan the night before? I'll wake up at 5 a.m. I'll exercise, I'll use my phone less, I'll work with focus. Then morning comes, the alarm rings, you turn it off, and your brain quietly whispers, "Not today, tomorrow." In that moment, nothing dramatic happened, no disaster, just a small feeling, and you obeyed it. The day ends, and a quiet guilt settles inside you. You might even ask yourself, why can't I stay consistent? Why can't I stay motivated? This is where most people get it wrong. We think we lack discipline, but in reality, we are addicted to motivation. Motivation feels amazing, like watching an inspiring video on Sunday night and feeling ready to change your life. But Monday arrives and the excitement disappears. Why? Because motivation is an emotion, and emotions change like weather. The same thing happens at work. When your salary hits your account, you feel energized. When your boss criticizes you, the same job feels heavy. In business, profit brings excitement. Loss brings doubt. If action depends on mood, progress will depend on mood too. Slowly, a realization begins to form. Maybe the problem isn't laziness. Maybe the problem is that we're waiting to feel ready. Even highly disciplined people don't feel motivated every day. The difference, they don't allow emotions to control their decisions. They build systems. I had a friend who never felt motivated to go to the gym, so he created one rule. No matter what, I will stand in the gym for 20 minutes. Some days he barely worked out, but he showed up. After a few weeks, he didn't need motivation anymore. That's the core idea. Discipline doesn't come from emotions, it comes from identity. When you start seeing yourself as someone who keeps promises, action becomes automatic. At first, it feels uncomfortable, but maybe that discomfort is the beginning of real freedom. So the real question is, if motivation isn't reliable, can you learn to trust your decisions instead? Chapter 2: Self-control is a muscle. Have you ever decided to cut down on sugar and suddenly there's a biscuit next to your GD? Or when you need to focus, your phone notification light starts blinking. It almost feels like the world is testing you. But the truth? It's not the world, it's your brain. We assume, I'm weak, I don't have willpower. But is that really true, or is the story different? There was a guy who every month after receiving his salary promised himself, "This time I'll save money." For the first few days, he controlled his spending. Then the weekend came. Plans with friends, online sales, impulse purchases, and once again, his account nearly hit zero. Every month, same cycle. He thought he was financially irresponsible, but he was missing something simple. Self-control isn't a personality trait, it's a muscle. If you don't use it, it stays weak. If you train it gradually, it grows stronger. Here's where most of us fail. We try to change 10 things in one day. Wake up at 5 a.m., go to the gym, cut junk food, do 3 hours of deep work, and when our energy crashes by day 3, we conclude, discipline just isn't for me. But think about it. No one walks into a gym and lifts 100 kilos on day 1. First 5, then 10, then 20. Your brain trains the same way. Let's say you want to reduce phone usage. Instead of jumping from 4 hours to 30 minutes, start with a 15-minute rule. When the urge comes, wait 15 minutes. Sometimes you'll still scroll, but sometimes you won't. And those few moments matter, because each time you pause, you send a new signal to your brain. You are not a slave to emotion. Gradually, that gap grows. And here's the powerful truth. Self-control isn't emotional. It's neurological training. Every small win, an extra 10 minutes of focus, avoiding an unnecessary expense, resisting one impulse, strengthens the discipline circuits in your brain. People don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they expect transformation without training. They believe they are capable. They don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they don't return to action with patience. So the next time a temptation appears, don't ask yourself whether you have enough willpower. Ask yourself something simpler. Can I train this muscle one more time? Because maybe the problem isn't weakness. Maybe the problem is consistency. And consistency isn't something you wait for, it's something you build. Chapter 3. Systems over willpower. Have you ever noticed how some people wake up at almost the same time every morning? They exercise, they focus on their work, and from the outside, it looks like they possess some superior level of willpower. Then you look at your own day. The moment you wake up, decisions begin. Should I go to the gym today? Should I start work first or scroll my phone for a while? Should I cook something healthy or order takeout? Small decisions all day long. By evening, your brain feels exhausted, and then you say, I just can't stay consistent. But is the real problem discipline or decision fatigue? I once knew someone working in a corporate job. Every Sunday night, he would create a perfect plan, a strict routine starting Monday. But by Monday morning, office pressure, unexpected calls, random meetings, and schedule disruptions would destroy that plan. He felt busy, overwhelmed, reactive. One day, he changed just one thing. He made the first 90 minutes of his morning non-negotiable deep work. Phone on silent, door closed, coffee ready, task pre-decided. Now he didn't have to decide what to do. He only had to sit down and begin. After a few weeks, he noticed something powerful. Productivity increased, stress decreased, motivation still fluctuated, but the system stayed stable. And here's the mistake most of us make. We think strong people make strong decisions, but in reality, strong people make fewer decisions. They design their environment so that doing the right thing becomes the default. For example, if you want to eat healthy, but your fridge is full of junk, you must use willpower every single time. But if there's no junk at home, half the temptation disappears. Have you noticed? When something isn't easily available, your desire for it slowly weakens. This is the core idea. Willpower is limited. Systems are scalable. Willpower gives you a momentary push. Systems give you daily direction. Imagine you want to start a business. If every day you must decide whether to create content or call a client, consistency will collapse. But if you have a fixed calendar slot, a reminder set, a ready template, action becomes automatic. Slowly, discipline becomes routine, not effort. People fail because they focus on goals, not processes. They say, I want to lose 10 kilograms, but they never design a daily eating and movement system. They say, I want to save money, but they don't set up automatic transfers. The desire is strong, the design is weak, and when the design is weak, temptation wins. So, how do you apply this? Start small. A fixed wake-up time, the same study space, planning the night before, phone in another room, automatic savings transfer, weekly review time. It's not glamorous, but it's powerful. When the system is clear, discipline feels natural. And maybe the real question isn't, how much willpower do I have? The real question is, how intelligently have I designed my life? Because when design improves, struggle decreases. And when struggle decreases, progress begins quietly. In the next chapter, we'll understand something even deeper, how long-term thinking strengthens every system, because short-term comfort will always test you. Chapter 4. Delayed gratification. Have you ever experienced this? The moment your salary arrives, you tell yourself, this time I'll invest, I'll secure my future. But within a few days, EMIs, shopping, eating out, small unnecessary expenses, and by the end of the month, as you check your balance, there's a quiet anxiety inside you. Or maybe you start a diet. You eat clean for 2 days. On the third day, someone offers you pizza, and you say, let's enjoy today. I'll be strict from tomorrow. Have you ever counted how many times tomorrow has defeated today? This is where most people lose silently. We want long-term happiness, but we refuse to give up short-term comfort. The problem isn't character. The problem is wiring. Our brains prefer immediate rewards. Sweet taste is instant. A Netflix episode entertains you now. Shopping excites you now. Future stability feels abstract, distant, hard to visualize, and it's easy to ignore what feels far away. I had a friend who wanted to start a business. Every weekend he researched ideas, wrote plans, listened to motivational talks, but when it came to taking real risk, he never did. He didn't even dedicate 2 consistent hours after work to build a side hustle, because relaxing after work was easier. I'm tired today. I'll do it on the weekend. By the weekend, social plans appeared. Slowly, 1 year passed. The idea remained the same. Life remained the same. One day he asked me, why can't I take action? The answer was simple: discomfort. He wasn't afraid of failure. He was uncomfortable with delayed reward. I wasn't incapable. I was avoiding discomfort. And that's the core idea of this chapter. Delayed gratification is not a moral lecture. It's an identity shift. When you consciously delay short-term pleasure, you're not just changing outcomes, you're redefining who you are. Imagine this. Every time an impulse appears, you pause for 10 minutes. Just 10 minutes. Sometimes the craving fades. Sometimes it doesn't. But something more important happens. You send a signal to your brain. Decisions are made by intention, not impulse. Most people make a mistake here. They think a small compromise doesn't matter. It's just one time. But discipline works like compound interest. Just as money compounds, habits compound. Every time you choose short-term comfort, you withdraw a little trust from your future self. Every time you delay gratification, you deposit confidence. So how do you apply this? Not through dramatic sacrifices, but through small delays. An urge appears. Pause. Breathe. Wait. Observe. Salary arrives, savings auto-transfer first, spending later. Don't feel like going to the gym? Just wear your shoes. Keep the action small. Keep the consistency high. Gradually, delay starts to feel normal, and maybe the real question isn't, what am I gaining right now? The real question is, what kind of person am I becoming? Because today's small comfort can quietly steal tomorrow's freedom, and freedom might be the greatest reward given to those who learn to delay. Chapter 5. Emotional Control. Has this ever happened to you? One comment ruins your entire day. At work, your boss gives mild criticism, and suddenly the task you were confidently doing feels overwhelming. Or after a small argument at home, you decide the whole day is lost. Strange, isn't it? The work hasn't changed, the goal hasn't changed, but your direction changes. And then you wonder, why can't my focus stay stable? This is where the real battle begins. We think discipline means taking action daily, but something quieter is happening underneath. Emotions, boredom, frustration, doubt, comparison, fear. They begin shaping decisions silently. Imagine you started a business. First month, excitement is high. Second month, sales slow down. A voice inside whispers, maybe this isn't for me. If you accept that emotion as a final decision, your action stops. And from the outside, people say there was no consistency. But the truth is, consistency was defeated by emotion. Most people fail because they were never taught this. Emotions are temporary. We treat emotions as reality. I don't feel confident. I'm not capable. I'm tired. I need rest. Emotions send signals, but we interpret them as commands. Have you noticed something? Sometimes you start a task with zero interest, and after 20 minutes, it feels smooth. So what was the initial resistance? A student preparing for a competitive exam experienced this. Some days he was fully focused, other days completely distracted. He thought he was inconsistent, so he ran a simple experiment. No matter my mood, I will study for 30 minutes. Just 30 minutes. Some days he sat there irritated, some days bored. But interestingly, after 30 minutes, he often entered flow. He realized something powerful. The problem wasn't motivation. The problem was reacting immediately to emotion. And here's the core idea. Discipline comes before emotion. Emotional awareness is the key. You don't need to eliminate emotions, you just need to observe them. When boredom appears, ask, is this a signal to stop or just discomfort? When doubt arises, ask, is this fact or fear? These small questions create space between emotion and action, and in that space, control is born. How do you apply this in real life? Practice the emotional pause. Don't react instantly. 5 deep breaths, a 10-minute delay. Write 3 lines in a journal about what you're feeling. It may sound simple, but this is the work. Gradually, you'll notice emotions will continue to come and go, but your system remains stable. And maybe true discipline isn't suppressing emotions, it's understanding them and moving forward anyway. The person who changes direction with every mood never reaches a destination, but the person who treats mood as a passenger, not the driver, travels differently. And that leads to the next question. When emotions are no longer in control, how does identity begin to change? Chapter 6. Identity Shift. Have you ever noticed something interesting? Some people don't try to eat healthy, they just eat healthy. Some people don't try to save money, they naturally save. Some people don't try to stay focused, they simply focus. What's the difference? Skill? Luck? Talent? Often we chase goals but ignore identity. We say, I want to be fit. I want to be successful. I want to be disciplined. But deep down, our self-image says something else. I'm a bit lazy. I'm not consistent. I'm too emotional. And then our actions follow that identity. Have you ever considered this? If you don't take yourself seriously, why would your habits take you seriously? There was a man who made resolutions every year. This time I'll change. But underneath, he still saw himself as someone who quits. And guess what happened? Every action unconsciously confirmed that belief, because identity drives behavior more than intention. And the most powerful shift happens when you stop asking, "What do I want to achieve?" and start asking, "Who do I want to become?" I'll grow my business. I'll buy courses. I'll learn strategy. I'll create planners. But when it was time to take real risk, he stepped back. Deep down, he still saw himself as someone with an employee mindset. Stable salary, fixed routine, safety first. He wanted to become an entrepreneur, but his identity was still that of a safe player. One day, he stopped working on resolutions. He started working on identity. He began telling himself, "I am a disciplined business owner." At first, it felt fake, unnatural, but he backed it up with small actions: daily outreach, weekly reviews, uncomfortable calls. Gradually, action reinforced identity, and identity reinforced action. This is where most people fail. They try to change behavior without changing belief. They think if they exercise for 30 days, they'll become disciplined. But if they miss a few days, they say, "See, this is who I am." The truth? Identity is fragile. That's why habits don't stick. Here's the core idea. Sustainable discipline comes from identity shift, not behavior change. When you see yourself as someone who keeps promises, excuses weaken. Imagine you see yourself not as someone trying to quit smoking, but as a non-smoker. Now, decisions become easier. If you see yourself as a saver, not a spender, temptation loses power. The action doesn't dramatically change, the self-definition does. So how do you apply this? Collect small pieces of identity evidence. Keep one small promise daily. When the alarm rings, don't snooze, just stand up. Focus for 20 minutes. Skip one unnecessary expense. Mentally record each small win. This is who I am. Identity isn't built through loud declarations. It's built through quiet proof. And here's the interesting part. When identity shifts, struggle doesn't disappear, but meaning changes. Exercise no longer feels like punishment, it feels like proof. Saving money no longer feels like sacrifice, it feels like investment. Focus no longer feels boring, it feels like character building. Maybe the highest level of discipline is when you don't need to push yourself anymore, because you've become the kind of person who pushes. And then the question isn't about goals. The question becomes, what level of identity am I choosing? Because maybe the real game isn't success, it's evolution. Now, if you look back, you might realize something. The problem was never lack of motivation. The problem was that we made motivation the driver. When feelings were good, we moved. When feelings dropped, we stopped. And for years, we believed consistency was out of reach. But now, the picture is clearer. Discipline is bigger than emotion, smarter than willpower, deeper than habit. We've seen motivation is unreliable, self-control can be trained, systems reduce decision fatigue, delayed gratification protects the future. Emotions are temporary. Identity changes everything. These aren't theories. They show up in small, everyday moments, with the alarm, with your wallet, with your phone, with your mood swings. Every day you face small moments where you decide who you're becoming. Maybe discipline doesn't mean perfection. Maybe it means maintaining a minimum standard, showing up even on imperfect days. If not 100%, then 40%, but not 0, because 0 weakens identity. Action, even small action, strengthens identity, and identity shapes the future. So the real question is no longer, how do I find motivation? The real question is, what kind of person am I choosing to become? Because when that becomes clear, motivation becomes optional, discipline becomes normal, and progress becomes quiet but unstoppable. And maybe from today onward, the next time your mood isn't on your side, you won't quit. You'll simply say to yourself, I am the kind of person who still does.